gentlemen, to yet another episode of Bobo, Mango, and Donovan's Void. My voice is back, mostly. So I'm back on my bullshit.
I feel like you having to go a week without talking was maybe the most challenging thing you've ever done.
That was the hardest thing that's ever happened to me. The day after we recorded the last episode, I just lost my voice completely. Like, I could only whisper.
Yeah.
And for 6 days?
Yeah.
5 days?
Yeah.
5 to 6 days. It was just whispering. Today is day 1.
Yeah.
Where I have a voice.
Yeah, how does it feel?
Wow, I'm back on my book. I feel like, you know when Hitler had...
What? No, finish. You started. What?
I feel like you know when Putin has all of his ammunition.
That's how you feel?
And he's ready. That's how I feel. No, I really took my voice for granted.
Yeah?
You know? It's not fully back.
Yeah.
But it's back enough for me.
Yeah, to talk shit.
To talk my shit.
Yeah.
I took my voice for granted. And I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was like, what if it doesn't come back?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, what if God was like, fuck you, like, fuck what you have to say. And then I'd have to find a real job. You know, I really thought, I was like, oh my, who will hire me?
Right.
Who will employ me? I'm unemployable. And then I was like, well, should I kill myself?
Imagine our resumes right now. It's like, yeah, I have 7 TikToks where everyone hates me.
Yes, yeah, that's currently... And, you know, this is about today's conversation too. There's actually 2 things I want to talk about today. And we'll just talk about wherever the conversation goes, wherever it goes. I want to talk about the economy. Because, wow.
Yeah, the banks are failing.
The banks are failing. It's just a global recession. And yet we're just continuing it's just business as usual.
Yeah.
And I also want to continue from the conversation we were having last week. Because last week we were talking about situationships. And we were talking about the culture of lovelessness that perpetuates situationships and how commonplace they are.
Yeah.
And we then, towards the end of the conversation, sort of talked about what are the things that we can do to overcome the culture of lovelessness that we found ourselves in. And I talked at length about how romantic relationships always reflect the economic systems that they exist in. And a question I then have is, you know, at this point in the economy, is love also an economic privilege? Because what I've realized, right, is that it's not even a question anymore. Like, this is no longer up for debate.
Yeah.
But having kids is an economic privilege.
Right.
For the first time in history, having kids is it's a luxury item.
Yeah.
Like the choice. And let me put it like, people are already gonna call me an eco-fascist. Having kids in a healthy way where they can afford food. Yeah. Because you can just pop one out.
You can.
If your ovaries are still late, but that's another conversation.
Right.
You can't just pop one out, but can you feed them? Can you clothe them?
Yeah.
Can you take them to school? Can you afford health care for your kids? Those are all luxuries, and those are all things that you need to keep your kids alive. So we're now 100% at the point where parenting is an economic luxury. And I would go as far as to say that love, healthy love, not just the love we see on Love Island.
Right.
Which, bitch, I'm going to make a documentary about Love Island. I have some thoughts. Yeah. I have some thoughts about how reality TV is a direct reflection of romantic love as we know it. But that's for another conversation. That's for another episode. Healthy love, not Love Island love, not TikTok love, not you know, the the love that we see parading around on our screens. I really mean like healthy, sincere love as defined by bell hooks, my Lord and Savior. You know, the love that comprises of respect and care and honesty and, you know, mutual love, you know, non-transactional love. Like that love, you kind of need a baseline level of income to have access to that one.
Yeah.
What, in your opinion, are the core ingredients that love necessitates, like healthy love? Let's maybe list them out. You know, you start. I'll list my ingredients. You list yours, and then we'll compare and contrast how much each ingredient costs.
Yeah.
How much each one costs.
Well, here's my number one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Balance. Healthy love requires balance.
Explain. What do you mean by balance?
So let's take like the plight of modern women, for example, where in the neoliberal feminist girl boss era, you're sort of told that chase your career, but then also have balance, right? Chase your career and be a good mom and be a good wife and be all these things. That balance that people have sold to women in the modern age is completely non-existent. And it's been told that that ability to find balance is something that should be the responsibility of individual women, right? It's not that you should be able to find balance because like the state subsidizes childcare or like, you know, fucking you get actual maternity leave or any of these things. You personally have to find that balance. And that balance is never real balance. You're actually balancing on the heads of like poor women, you know? There's always like a white woman with like 6 nannies telling you that she found balance. And it's like, no, Barbara, you found balance and then Guadalupe doesn't get to see her kids because she's watching your kids. So balance...
It's not balance.
Right, no, there's just a Mexican woman watching her kids for it's not balance at all. So what's really happening is that this idea of healthy love has become a class privilege for those who can afford to find balance on the backs of the exploitation of others.
Interesting.
You know? And if you're not in that class of people, fuck you, go kick a rocks, go jump in the ocean, no one cares. It's your responsibility. You're not girl bossing hard enough to work a 40-hour work week and then also cook for your kids and then also be able to take care of them when you're sick and like suck your man's dick every 3 days. And, you know, that's your fault because it's an individual responsibility, you know? So the ability to transcend that is complete privilege. Another thing I think is a really big privilege is self-awareness, right?
Oh, why is that a privilege?
You know, I think so much of navigating a healthy relationship is knowing how the things that you do and say affect your partner. You get what I mean? So much of what couples fight about is someone will be like, I thought what you said was so offensive, or I thought what you said was so mean. And then the person's retort is always, oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. Or like, why are you interpreting us? So to have the ability to be in a healthy relationship is to be someone who has the time to be self-reflective, who has the time to not only attempt to be nice in the way that they know to be nice, but also have the time to acknowledge all of the ways in which them just being who they are offends their partner. But the thing about being poor is poor people are stuck in survival mode. And one thing I know about animals in survival mode is they don't really have the time or patience to sit back and be reflective on their actions.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Survival mode is not the ideal state of being to sit back and go, oh, I guess I could have been a little nicer to my wife. Or I could have been a little... I was thinking about whether or not we're going to get evicted. You know, that's not really the headspace to go back through your childhood and maybe look at the ways in which your relationship with your mother is painting your current relationship with your wife. That's not really the right headspace to be in. So being in a headspace where you can be reflective and take accountability for things that aren't inherently your fault, but you caused. That's a headspace that is a complete class privilege. I don't know anyone in survival mode that has the patience and the ability to just reflect on those things. Those things that weren't intentional, you know, they weren't inherently malicious, but they had a negative effect on your partner, you know? What are some of yours?
That's interesting. I was actually going to say something similar, but I guess just using different semantics. And for me, I think, outside of like my Lord and Savior Bell Hooks's 10 Commandments of care and honesty and et cetera, respect. The one ingredient that I feel we don't talk about enough, that is really underlooked when it comes to having a healthy relationship, is like overcoming your narcissism. And I don't really mean narcissism in a sort of pathological sense. I really mean like narcissism, maybe in like a more philosophical, maybe the word I'm really looking for is solipsism, like overcoming your solipsism. But just for lack of clarity, I'm going to use the word narcissism because I feel like more people are familiar with that word. I think the one thing that gets in the way of all of our relationship, and this isn't even just like romantic, but I think the one thing that gets in the way of love generally is an inability to overcome your like perspective.
Right. Yes.
Like I think in order for any relationship to function, whether it's your relationship with your mom or your bestie or your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, like whatever it is, you both need to have the ability to really like be in the other person's shoes.
Right.
In like very minor, banal ways, but also in like larger ways. Yeah. So, and it's small thing, and like this is something that we all do. So it'll be, especially when we're younger, when you're like 20 and you're in a relationship, you're in your stupid little 20-year-old relationship. And
they are stupid.
You're like, come on, when you're 20 years old, your little relationship, it's just a stupid little relationship.
You're like going through each other's phones.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, it's just a dumb relationship. And
shout out to everyone who listens to this.
Yeah. I had my stupid little 20-year-old
me too.
relationship.
It was dumb.
Yeah, I was a dumb bitch. I look back and I was like, you were a dumb bitch.
Yeah.
But it's small thing. It's like, let's say, for example, here's a scenario. Here's something that's very common. Your significant other comes home and they just like, they don't greet you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They just come home and they just put their bag down and they just like run upstairs and they just plop on the bed.
Right.
And you're like, this nigga didn't greet me. This bitch, she doesn't respect me.
Yeah.
Like, we immediately, like, make it about ourselves.
Right.
It's just like, this is immediately about me.
Yeah.
Or another common thing is, you come downstairs and you see that your significant other left a dish. Yeah. They left a plate in the sink. Yeah. You're like, this nigga thinks I'm a slave.
Yeah.
This nigga thinks I'm his personal slave. In this house, he doesn't respect me.
Right.
He just doesn't respect me. There's so many situations where your partner does something and like your reflex is to immediately make it about you. And it's so easy to do. I don't even like blame anyone who does. Like we all do. Anyone who says they don't do it, like you're either lying or you're Buddha. Yeah. Like we all do it in small little ways.
Yeah.
And it's just not taking that 1 second to be like, wait, but like, did they have a bad day? Are they busy today? Did they have a bad day at work?
Yeah.
Did, like, are they stressed out? Are they anxious?
Right.
Do they have like a deadline? Because like, I know that like they're supposed to hand in their manuscript for their second book and they feel like, like the words aren't really coming. They're not really able to write. Is their mind elsewhere? Like, just the inclination, the reflex to immediately make your partner's actions about yourself is fundamentally an inability to overcome your own narcissism.
Yeah.
And it's a narcissism that I feel like we all have. And I know the word narcissism is strong, and I'm not using it in a pathological sense. I'm really just using it like to substitute the word solipsism.
Yeah.
But that is also something that I feel is an economic privilege.
Absolutely. No, I fully get what you mean.
When I'm stressed, and like I'm someone, like I physically don't deal with stress very well. Like Just more like I have PCOS, and like whenever I'm stressed, like when I'm really, I just get cysts.
Yeah.
I just get cysts on my ovaries. Like
Yeah.
it just, and that comes with a whole slew of other stuff. I'm in pain. I get acne. I'm grumpy. I have PMS. Like my body just doesn't deal with like chronic stress well. And honestly, I don't think anyone does,
no one does.
you know?
Yeah.
But like when I'm stressed, like stress just does a number on my body.
Yeah.
And like both physically and psychologically. And like when I'm stressed, I am the worst version of myself. Like I'm self-absorbed. I'm grumpy. It's also like I'm just physically sick. I'm tired. I just don't have energy. And like that, I'm not a pleasant person to be. And, you know, I can do all that. I can meditate. I can breathe more. But like at the end of the day, like stress makes me a shitty person. And I've gotten better at dealing with stress, but it is what it is. Like it's just, like I'm just shittier when I'm stressed out.
Yeah.
And I feel like to not be stressed is an economic privilege. Like every time I go to the doctor and I'm like, yeah, fam, I have another cyst. My ovaries are acting up.
Yeah.
They're always like, keep your stress levels down. And I'm like, well, I have a mortgage.
Right.
But are you mad?
Right.
I'm in Cyril's economy. Like, I don't have electricity and I'm supposed to generate an income to pay my bills so that I can feed and clothe myself. Like, what do you mean to keep my stress levels down?
Right.
Are you mad?
Right.
And I feel like, you know, like, it's really only hoes like Gwyneth. I don't even think, like, money necessarily, like, buys you a stress-free life. But it certainly helps. I also hate these bitches that are like, money doesn't make you happy. It's about, bitch, money's the first ingredient. Are you mad? Are you mad?
Yeah.
In order to even conceptualize, like, I need a baseline amount of money. Like, can we stop with this narrative that, like, money will do nothing for your mental health? No. Bitch, no. Before we diagnose people with like, oh, they have depression, can we check their bank accounts?
Can you write me a prescription for $700?
Like, before we diagnose people with, oh, they have chronic anxiety. Do they have chronic anxiety, or are they poor, or are you a puzzle? Are you like,
listen,
can you stop? Am I depressed or am I poor? Like,
I've tried Lexapro. $700 has done way more.
It's done more. It's just done more.
Going off of what you're saying, which is I completely agree with. The number one class privilege in love is the ability to heal. Truly. You know, we talked last week about how the number one illness afflicting this generation is the inability to get over their exes, right? The inability to put something behind them. I remember when I was in my early 20s in my stupid little 20-year-old relationship. My breakup with my first ex was just really devastating for me emotionally, right? And I was distraught, you know, I'm crying, can't eat, all that shit. And I remember talking to my rich friend, which, by the way, is something you should never do.
Don't do it. Do not do it. Do not go to your rich friend for relationship advice.
Right, and I remember telling him, like, man, you know, I can't get over this. I'm just really stuck. I'm so depressed. And I remember him going, you know, when I went through my first bad breakup, I just, like, went to Europe for a year. And, you know, it's really good to, like, change your location. You know, you got to get out of the location that reminds you of, you know, I just went to Italy. Let me send you this retreat in Italy I went to. Nigga, bro! Like, what are you talking about? Like, rich people who just say things.
No, they
like,
really will.
What are you talking about?
They really will.
And you know what's really sad? That's great advice.
Yeah.
In order to get over someone, in order to get over a relationship and heal and move on, it is great advice to get out of that environment. It is great advice to be in a new place and have new experiences and override your hard drive with new positive experiences. That is 100% dependent on how much debt you have and how much money is in your bank account. My nigga, I'm 78K in student loan debt. What the fuck are you talking to me about? You know? So what sucks is that a lot of this advice is good.
Yeah.
And love...
You just can't afford to implement it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think where people struggle, and even I struggle, is trying to find balance between believing that love is a skill, like Bell Hooks said, believing that love is an action, but also kind of calling bullshit on meritocracy.
Yeah.
Right? I both believe that love is a skill.
Yes.
And I also believe the ability to dedicate that much time and energy to this skill is a privilege.
Yeah.
Right? I hold space for both of those truths.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Now, okay. Let's really break this down. How much does love cost in 2023? What's the price?
Right.
How much do I have to earn?
Yeah.
Annually? What does my annual income need to be? And okay, let's say I live in New York.
Yeah.
I live in New York. I'm a woman.
Yeah.
How much do I need to earn to be able to afford love? Give me the number. Give it to me straight.
Well, let's start, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid growing up, the idea of making six figures was incomparable to me. I'm like, yo, if I made six figures, nigga, I'm straight.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm out the gate. So now I look at six figures and I'm like, oh, you can't afford love with six figures.
No.
All right. So let's say you're a woman living in New York.
Yes.
And you got a job and you're making... Let's be generous. Let's say $150,000 a year.
I make $150,000. Okay, so you make $150,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden comes and takes $50K. He says, "Fuck you."
Right.
You're now left with $100,000 a year.
Right.
So per month, that's about $8,333,000 dollars a month. On paper, that's a great salary, but you live in New York, so rent is $4,500 for a box. Just a box.
Yeah.
Just a box with a few rats. 2 to 3 rats, few roaches, and some mold.
Right.
You know, just bare minimum in New York.
Yes.
No views. And there's a crackhead just outside your door.
Yeah.
There's no elevator in your building.
Yeah.
You have to sprint every morning.
Yeah.
Every morning, every night when you come back home from work at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
You have to sprint up your stairs.
Yeah.
8 flights up. But it's $4,500 a month. So now we're left with about $4,000.
Right.
We're left with about $3,500 after utilities and Wi-Fi and unexpected mishaps that happen because your landlord doesn't give a fuck about you.
Yeah.
So now we're left with about $3,000 of, just disposable income.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
But wait.
Right?
But wait.
Okay.
You're a woman and you would like to have a kid in the future.
Yes.
So I got to eat something healthy, right? I can't just put
not
Burger King
everyday
Whoppers
McDonald's
into my body every single day. So let's say an extra $500 to $700 for food, but realistically like $1,000.
$1,000 for food. Yeah. Organic food.
Right? Because you were told to find balance. You read all the neo-lib feminist books because you prioritize your fucking career in the first half of your life. Yeah. You've now actually wasted all of your good years in which you could be having a kid.
Yes.
So in order to have the kid that you so desperately want, you have to get IVF.
Yes,
and you need
because your ovaries are not lit.
Right.
So now you need healthcare.
Yes, and good one.
A good
You think the average healthcare is covering IVF?
Bitch.
Right. So let's budget an extra, let's knock $1,300 a month.
Healthcare,
for good, really good healthcare that covers shit that isn't being killed in the street.
Yes.
Right. Where are we at now? We're under like $2,000.
Okay, yes. Well, so we have $3,000. We've shaved off $1,000 for groceries.
Yeah.
We've shaved off $1,500, so now we're at $2,000.
Yeah.
We've shaved off about $1,000 for healthcare.
Yeah.
To keep your ovaries lit.
Right.
So now we're at about $2,000.
Right.
Now we're at $2,000 of disposable income.
Yeah.
A month. So let's shave off. Maybe you live in New York, you don't have a car, but maybe you don't have a car, but
no, let's do the car though. Like this is a very
you're 29 at this point. It's not every day on the train.
Yeah. So the car note is $600. The insurance might be $400. Listen, generously, another $1,000. Let's just take that other $1,000 right out of your pocket.
Gas.
Yeah.
Gas.
Right. So where are we at now? What do we got? Like $1,000 left?
We're at $1,000. We have $1,000 left.
Yeah.
You don't want to kill yourself.
Right.
So you need to do something.
Something.
Can we watch a
maybe
movie?
buy yourself a candle. Just something. Just some.
You know, go out with your friends.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you have friends. Can you afford friendship? That's another cost.
Yeah.
Okay? But let's say you have a friend.
Yeah.
You know, you go out for brunch.
Yeah.
One meal, $30. You want a mimosa? Bitch, $50 a meal.
Right. We forgot a big one, by the way.
Yeah.
So you went and got your degree because you took all of the advice of these neo-lib feminists.
You took out a loan.
You took out a loan. You took out a fucking, let's be like a $70,000 loan to go to SUNY Purchase to get your nursing degree.
Yeah.
So you got to pay that back every month. And Joe Biden said he was going to lift that for you, but because he doesn't know where he is, he didn't. Right? So that's still about to come out of your check. I don't know, my shit's like $500 a month. Let's assume yours is as well.
It's $500.
So let's take that right out of your pocket. And what are we left with? What are we left with at this point?
We're left with a couple of hundred. Maybe we're left with $200.
Right.
A month.
Yeah.
That's without a dog.
Yeah.
That's without a cat.
Yeah.
You can maybe have $200 left
right.
at the end without any kids.
Right.
Can we afford love? Can we afford it?
I mean, the answer's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, this might sound very materialistic and numerical, and it's more about it's kind of about the numbers. Yeah. It's kind of about, like, love needs an environment that it could potentially happen in. You know? Being stressed, living check to check, worrying about whether or not you're going to have a roof over your head, being able to provide for yourself so that I don't have to be like a hypergamous lunatic that's like waiting for a man to pay every single one of my... Being able to judge someone on the merit to which you enjoy your time with them and not the extent to which they can save you from the capitalistic hellscape you've been thrown into. Right? Is that enough for that? And you're a working woman, right? You're someone who wakes up every day and you work 40 hours. Nurses work way more than 40 hours a week, by the way. This is not a bum.
Yeah.
This is not someone who's not working. Yeah. This is not someone... And, you know, it's insane that, like, people are still trying to make this work. You know, and that's why I respect the French, right? Because they're burning everything down. Because they're just saying, listen, we're not doing it. We need time to be bums and smoke cigarettes and fuck. I can't do that in this economy. It's not possible. And then, like, the French are just not having it.
And I respect them. I respect them.
What, if anything... do you think is the solution to this? Are you just fully black-pilled on this? Do you just think that in these conditions, it's like trying to grow a flower in tar? Like it's just not gonna happen. Or do you think there is some way to navigate?
You have to like live off the grid.
Yeah.
You have to get out.
Yeah.
You have to get... There's a lot of privilege with that because it's like, bitch, I work at Aldi's. How am I supposed to get out? Don't live... And bitch, I also don't know. Yeah. Because I'm also not off the... I'm trying.
Right.
Bitch, I'm trying to get solar panels.
Yeah.
So I can have 1 kilowatt of electricity.
Yeah.
You know? What I've realized for me is that, okay, look, I'm South African. I have a South African passport. Like, this is what it is for me. Like, I'm South African and... I don't expect that, like, Joe Biden is going to come. I'm going to get a green card. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But, like, I'm not banking on that. So, like, realistically, I might have to live the rest of my life in this country. We don't have electricity, okay? Yeah. I can't rely on my government to give me electricity. Yeah. I can barely rely on them to give me water at this point. I can barely do that. I can't rely on them to even provide me safety. It's anarchy in the streets. I can't rely on them. So, like, realistically, if I want to have things, just live a decent life, I have to do that shit on my own. I have to have solar power. Like, Cyril isn't going to give me electricity. Like, I have to get my own shit going. Yeah. I have to go and get solar panels to connect that shit to my house. I have to make sure that I own my house. I have to make sure that I have my own water system going. Yeah. I have to make sure that, like, I can grow my own food. Like, because at this point, I don't even know if in 5 years I can rely on the government to give me food. I don't know. Like, I can't rely on these people. Yeah. And I just think, like, as working class people, we have to stop begging the government for anything.
Very true.
We just, like, if you want anything, love, dignity, peace of mind, like, you can't stop asking the government. Joe Biden, he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
I don't care where in the world you are. Are you in Australia? They don't care, fam.
Yeah.
Australians, they give one fuck. Like, they said they can have healthcare.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, if you're in Scandinavia, like, your government gives one fuck.
Yeah.
They gave you one fuck.
Yeah.
But, like, outside of Scandinavian countries and Australia, and even then, like, guys, they don't care about you.
Yeah.
We need to stop relying on the government for anything.
Yeah.
We're going to die. These people are going to kill you. You have to find a way to live somewhere where you can afford to own your house.
Yeah.
And, like, you have to find a way to live somewhere.
Let's wait for you.
Dang.
White people.
Continue.
Yeah, like, you have to find a way to curate a life where you have some semblance of dignity, because your government's not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people in America, that honestly means leaving America.
Yes.
But, like, I don't
Good
know what
luck
else to
telling
tell
them
you.
You know, I...
Like, if you're black in America, like, you're like a black Brit. What are we still doing in the West? Like, truly, like, you know what? I was 18 and I looked at my future and I was like, you know what? I have an African passport. Let me be serious. Let me get the fuck out of this continent. There's nothing here. There's no jobs. There's no opportunities. We don't have like an economy on this continent. So it's like realistically, if I want a future for myself, I need to get the fuck out of here. So I made a plan and I got the fuck out. And I went to America and I got there and I was like, oh, they don't want me here.
Yeah.
I was like I got into one of the best schools in the country. I graduated summa cum laude. Like, I did all the things. Like, I went to business school. I got the masters. You know, like, I did all the things. Like, they don't want to employ you. You're a nigger to them.
Yeah.
Like, as much as Candace Owens wants to tell you that, like, you black person in America are an American, you're not.
Yeah.
It's not your country. Like, when I'm in America with this black skin, when I'm in the West with this black skin, it's not my country and they don't want me there.
Yeah.
It's even like when I'm walking down just Madison Avenue, it's just like the way white women are always looking at me. It's like, do you guys just want me out the country now?
They do. Yeah.
Where, like, they're just always staring at it. And it's like, is it my outfit or do you just want me out the country? Like, why are you staring at? And, like, they don't want me there.
Yeah.
It's not my country.
Yeah.
And because they don't want me there, they're not going to give me the dream job. They're not going to give the corner office. Like, they're not going to give me the things. They're not for me. Like, the American dream is for white people.
Right.
So it's like, realistically, what am I doing here? On this soil where I don't belong and they don't want me and where I'm nothing but a nigger. I'm better off in my own shitty third world country. Like, just making a plan for myself. And so here I am, I'm back here in my own shitty thing. And it's like, yeah, I have more dignity. I have more dignity and love is more possible for me here. Because at least here I'm wanted. Like, at least here, you know, like, even like South Africa is a slave colony. Like, let's be honest. Like, white people still own this country. Like, they're still doing slavery. I get it. They see me walking mango down the street and they're like, why is there a nigger walking a dog down? Like, they don't like it. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, this is still my land. Like, I don't care if you don't like it. Like, it's still this is my soil. I was made from this soil. Like, I'd rather just die here. Like, things don't work. There's no electricity. There's no infrastructure. But, it's shitty, but it's mine. I can, make something here. And I just feel like if you don't have that, there's no love. And I look at the state of Black love in America, and I'm like, yeah, guys, that's what it's gonna be. It's ghetto. Because, being Black in America is ghetto. You're a foreigner in your own country. You're a second-class citizen in your own country.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have the American passport with Black skin. You're just still a nigger. You just are. And, love isn't possible when I am fundamentally a nigger. I have to be a person.
Right.
I have to, be a human. I have to have dignity in my life.
Yeah.
For me to cultivate, love in my life, I have to have, dignity in order for me to, share that with you. I have to have, a respectable life in order for me to respect you. I have to love myself and my life in order to love you.
Yeah.
And I don't think Black people in the West have that.
Yeah.
I don't think you can ever have. I even look at Kanye and I'm like, why is Kanye West still in America with all of that money? Why are you still insisting on and it's yeah, because the slavery was so deep. What's so unethical about what white Americans did to Black Americans is they took your land, they took your language, they took your culture, they took your identity, they took everything material and metaphysical from you. They left you with nothing. What are you supposed to do with nothing? How am I supposed to have love when I have nothing?
Right.
No matter how much money they give Black America, you just are Kanye. Because what do you have really? So if you're Black and in the West, I think in order to have love, you have to leave. You just do. You have to leave, and it sucks, but I just don't think there's anything for us in the West.
I think this is one way in which Africans are very privileged in a way that, and I know associating those two things together is insane.
Yeah.
And someone's going to call me. I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the ability to feel at home somewhere is something that only you guys have.
You mean Black people in the diaspora?
Yeah, to be a Black American, to be a Black Brit, to be a Black person living in Australia.
In France.
You fundamentally do not have a home.
Yeah.
Because you are not welcome in your country, the place that you grew up in, the place that you had your formative years in, your first kid. No one wants you there. Yeah, fundamentally. And then you go back to Africa and people laugh at you and don't really want you there either.
Yeah.
You're truly no longer African as well. So to be a Black American or a Black Brit or a Black person in the West is to be someone without a home, right? You mentioned something.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. I know so.
That you're condemned to that?
Yes.
Do you think even if they leave, I feel like you can still create a home here? It's not going to be what your ancestors are doing. That's gone. That's finished. But you do have to come back to your own soil.
I agree.
Do you think so?
And I'm speaking from experience here, right?
Yeah.
I did it. But there's no such thing as home. It doesn't exist, you know? What sucks is, fundamentally, at the end of the day, yeah, I'm Jamaican. I come from this long line of Ghanaian culture, but I'm a New York nigga, right? That's what I know. I grew up on the train. I grew up eating chicken wings from the Chinese store. That's my home. Yeah. My home happened to be a slave ship, right? Yeah. But I like that slave ship. It's all I know.
Yeah.
And There's this really ignorant Black American rapper that people were killing, but I really feel what he was saying.
Yeah.
His point was like, nigga, we not African, we niggas.
Yeah.
When we got off their boat, they scratched off our name and wrote nigga.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's really ignorant. But I get the soul of what he's trying to say, that when you take a people, you rip them from their land. You rip them from their language. You turn them inside out.
Yeah.
You subjugate them for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah.
You will essentially kill what they were.
Yeah.
There's no going back. A lot of people need to accept that. There's no going back. But the thing
they're creating a new.
That's what I'm trying to say. The thing that I do think that we have is creating communities of people that understand that loss. That understand you. Yeah. And you said something that I really agree with, which is that, listen, we all have to like own our own homes. We all have to be able to be in a space that somebody cannot kick you out of.
You have to,
That's very important psychologically.
Yeah.
But listen, we did the numbers, and at the end of the month, you're saving $200.
Yeah.
And every single person selling a home in America is at least asking for $800,000 in your firstborn child.
Yes.
Right? So that's not going to happen for the average individual person.
Yeah.
We need to give up on the individual pursuit of the American dream. It's not real. It was never real for Black people.
Ever.
And now it's not even real for white people.
Yeah.
So what the fuck do you think is going to happen next?
Yeah.
And what we need to do is that at the end of the month, all of us only have $200. We need to come together, find a community of 7 people that you like, that you think you could live with without killing, right?
Yeah.
And you all, at the end of the month, take your $200 and you pool it together and you go buy a piece of land. And, you know, maybe after all of you pool your $200 at the end of the month, you can all share a 1-bedroom in East Palestine, Ohio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my point is that maybe you can get something.
Yes.
Maybe you won't be stuck in this perpetual state of renting and feeling as if you're a guest in your own life and all that. And we need to approach this model differently because the old economic model is defunct.
Yeah.
Your parents were able to save up for a house because a house cost $7 in a strawberry and their rent was $2 in a pickle.
Yes.
Right? So the math on that made sense.
Yeah. For you, it doesn't. Yeah.
For you, it doesn't. And you need to give up on the idea of having your own house with the white picket fence and a gun that you can shoot someone anytime they get. You know, like that American dream is dead.
Yeah.
And it was toxic to begin with. The nuclear family was a terrible idea. It alienated us. It isolated us. It raised a generation of sadistic narcissists that don't know how to cooperate with other people. We're supposed to be living communally anyway.
Yeah.
And the economy has now forced us to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think we need to start thinking of alternative lifestyles.
Yeah.
And I know that's like a lot to ask because we're all taught that we want our little lives with our little dream. But that shit was miserable anyway.
Yeah.
Those women were miserable anyway. Those men were stressed anyway. I think what we really want is to feel like we don't have a fucking foot on our neck.
Yeah, every day.
And we want to be living a life that feels a little more natural and maybe can provide some more holistic sense of happiness.
It's funny that you say we should be living a life that's a little bit more natural, because I've been thinking a lot about sustainability now that I'm like, okay, I need to get off the grid because this government can't give me anything. Yeah. And I'm now thinking about like, okay, like realistically, wherever I'm gonna live. So my mom, right, fucking genius. My mom, probably like more than a decade ago, like before like anyone was even thinking about solar, my mom was like, yeah, no, I'm getting off the grid. And like she got in when it was still affordable back then. And like also just starting off very slowly, like just 2 panels, you know, and then 3 panels, you know. And now like she just was someone that was always like thinking about sustainability. Like she was on recycling before me. I was like, why are you recycling? Like, why are we doing this? Like, my mom was just always someone like thinking about how can I live more sustainably. And I've learned so much from her in the sense that like, she really saw where the world was going like decades ago and prepared and was like, how can I make like life more sustainable for myself and the planet? and was like, yeah, realistically, that means I can't consume the way that I used to.
Right.
Like, when I go and I visit my mom, it's not every day hot water.
Yeah.
Like, it's like
She's
we
a
don't
privilege.
always, yeah, like that shit. I have hot water when it's hot.
Right.
Like, when the sun is, like, you know, it's like, I have to think more, you know, it's like, I have to, like, think about, like, I can't switch the microwave on and also switch the heater on.
Yeah.
Like, I have to, like, you know, I have to think about, like, every little thing about when I go and I visit my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I have to think about every little thing about the way I consume. I have to think about, okay, I'm cold now, and I need heat right now. Like, should I switch on the heater and use up the entire solar battery? Do I need to go get a gas heater? Like, it's like every little thing. Like, I can't use the electric stove. Like, nigga, we use gas because electricity is expensive. And I've also started thinking about my life in that way, where it's like, if I want to live more sustainably and I want to live in a way that is kinder to the planet and its inhabitants, so that we can, like, all do this. Like, realistically, I can't have all my plugs on constantly. I can't, like, use the dishwasher, washing machine. I can't, like, have a dryer. Like, that shit uses up so much power. Like, there's just a lot of things that I cannot do anymore. Like, I can't live like a Westerner anymore. Yeah. You know, it's also like, we don't have electricity 24/7. So it's like, yeah, I need to schedule my work when there's electricity. And then when there isn't, that's when I rest. Like, I cannot work the same amount of hours as a Westerner. I don't have the same amount of kilowatts.
Yeah.
So it's like, you cannot live like a Westerner anymore. Right. If you have to just opt out of that entirely. Like, if you want to live more sustainably and you, like, want to get off if you want to get off the grid, you have to live more sustainably. If you have to live more sustainably, you cannot live the way the West does. You can't keep up with them anymore. Yeah. That means you can't work as much, you can't make as much money as that. Like, you have to just live differently, which means you have to have different priorities. Yeah. Like, work can no longer be a priority because, like, you don't have the same amount of kilowatts. Yeah. You don't have it anymore. And, like, you have to prioritize other things. You have to, like, prioritize community. Yeah. You have to, like, prioritize other ways of harvesting food. You have to be like, yeah, like, my fridge is not cold 24/7 anymore. Like, I have to eat differently. I have to think about food differently. Yeah. You have to be, like, willing to change everything. Yeah.
You know, at first, when I started living in this country and I had to sort of wean myself off all of the spoils of living in the West, being able to have hot water whenever you want, electricity whenever you want. Yo, Amazon next day delivery. I haven't thought about that in a while, but, like, insane thing.
It's actually wild.
And at first, I thought, like, oh my God, I cannot believe, how am I going to live without these things? Yeah. But knowing that this is the direction that the world is going in, because listen, guys, the banks are failing. Yeah. Energy grids globally are collapsing. Yeah. There's a war in Ukraine. Things aren't exactly looking up. Yeah. But I'm an optimist in the sense that I haven't killed myself and I don't plan to. So I'm going to have to find the silver lining in this. Yeah. And to me, the silver lining is to find the beauty in simplicity. You know? Yeah. Let's not pretend like this world where we had constant access to anything, anytime, for any reason was good.
Was fulfilling.
It was overwhelming. It was depressing. It was meaningless. It was disorienting.
It was alienating.
Some of the compromises we're going to have to make may be for the best.
Honestly,
like, we were having this conversation about America, right? America still has electricity 24/7. Yeah. What the fuck are they doing with it?
What are they
You look at American media, you look at American values, you look at American food, and it's like, what are you guys doing? The world would be a better place if America didn't have electricity for like 6 hours a day. Like, the world would actually just improve. Like, something can be gained for the extent that we're going to have to scale back. And I'm not trying to be one of those Wall Street Journal people being like, it's good to not eat breakfast. It's fucked up. And by the way, there are a lot of rich people trying to convince you that there's some sort of value in scaling back. That's all bullshit. Eat breakfast. And it's insane that you can't afford breakfast. But what I'm trying to say is that there's an emotional benefit to taking inventory of your life and cutting out all the shit that was bullshit anyway. I didn't need electricity all day. It turns out when men have electricity all day, we just watch porn. It turns out
what
that
were you doing?
having to wake up and look at when I'm going to have electricity has made me a more focused person that creates a schedule for myself every day and creates a routine that I can follow, where I can look at the end of the day and say I accomplished something regardless of what happened today. You know, there's something to be said about the simplicity that we're all going to have to accept in the midst of collapse. You know?
And I know South Africans are listening to us right now and they're like, are they glamorizing load shedding?
No.
And it's, you know, like, because it's truly, it's like the bane of all of our existence. Like, all of us here in this country hate this shit. But, like, I must say, there's something to be said about, you know, after now, it's been more than a year where there's, you know, there's no electricity for, like, hours every day. I have come to question, like, is it everyday electricity? Is it every day? Because also, what was I doing when I had 24/7? And, like, why do we need 24/7 electricity? Like, why does every single person in the world need 24/7 of electricity? For what?
And by the way, it turns out when a country has 24/7 electricity, they just make stepmom poor and colonize the world. Like, it's not, there's nothing good at the end of that.
Like, for you know? What, fam?
No, it's interesting. It's a lot to think about.
I think in order to have, like, love in your life, you do need less.
To be okay with less.
You do need, like, a more simple life.
Well, I think the more specific thing might be that you need to have a firm understanding of your priorities. And maybe forcing yourself to live a simpler life gets you more in tune with that. You know? Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure I really knew what mattered as much in life until I was faced with an African level of adversity, let's say. You know, I'm not sure I was able to nail down, like, man, I need to be someone who has clean water. You know, here's what I really need out of life. Because when you're living in the West and you're living in a model based on exponential growth and you're living in a model of being able to have access to anything all the time, inherently your needs and your standards are going to be limitless, right? So when you're in a model based on exponential growth and you're trying to set standards and things for yourself within that model, it never ends. And you notice that a lot with the extent to which people struggle to save their money in the West. And something I find really interesting is when you have a bullshit job and you're doing medical billing, or you're working for a company that burns down Puerto Rican women's homes because they didn't pay their mortgage on time or something. When you're doing bullshit, stupid work, you don't actually respect the money that you earn because you didn't respect the way that you earned it.
Interesting.
And then in order to get the satisfaction that you should have got from earning the money, you try to replace that by spending it.
Interesting.
So people in the West have this really sick mindset where they spend money as a means of catharsis for reconciling with the meaninglessness of their lives. And that makes it impossible to save for anything meaningful like a house, or meaningful like the ability to afford a child, or meaningful like being able to take your parents on a vacation because you saw them struggle. Because I'm just buying stupid shit on Amazon all day. And I'll talk to people who, like, make a decent salary and are still not able to save any money because of that illness, whatever the fuck that is. That ability to try to replace the meaning that we should all be gaining from our labor and what we do with spending. And you create a culture of people who identify more as being consumers than workers or fathers or mothers or lovers or anything that it's actually fucking real, you know? And I think living a simpler life can help you reset that. Reset the way you identify. You know, in South Africa, I just identify as a nigga struggling to make it through the day.
Yeah.
And getting my house off the grid and making sure, I identify as just a person trying to live.
Yeah.
I'm not a consumer here.
Yeah.
I'm not a temporarily embarrassed billionaire.
Yeah.
I'm not any of the dumb shit that the West convinced you.
It's like, I'm a sister, and I'm also a gardener, and I'm also a wife, and I'm also a member of this community. Like, you know, like, when your identities make sense, your life also
Your life makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you can find someone who better matches your priorities because you know them now.
Yes, yeah. I think that's what makes American relationships so chaotic, is that everyone's lives are so chaotic.
Yeah.
It's just one chaos coming together with another chaos. And it's like... Like, whoa. Can we do mushroom? I was like, life requires psychedelics. Sorry, in this economy, like...
We can't afford therapy anymore.
No, you need to do mushroom. I said what I fucking said. You live in the West, you need to do mushrooms. Like, at least once a quarter.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I did mushrooms when I went back to New York. It's terrifying doing this very, like, holistic natural drug in a place where there's nothing natural or holistic about the environment. Like, being on shrooms on the 7 train is not the exact same vibe as, like, being on shrooms here. But I feel you, though. I feel you.
Do mushrooms. And that's the cost of love. Yeah, you have to move to Africa.
That's what you have to do?
Do psychedelics.
Yeah.
Live off the grid. No, I'm kidding. But, you just, like, life has to be more simple.
Yeah.
In order to let love in.
Yeah.
That's really, like, the moral.
Bars.
That's gonna be the name of my book. Let love in.
Skip breakfast to open room for...
Yeah.
I love, like, combining the bullshit shit the elites want us to do now with, like, this.
Yeah. So there we have it, guys.
You will own nothing and be happy, but be in love.
Yeah, yes.
That's like if a white woman makes that book, she's like New York Times bestseller.
She's set for life,
First day.
So, let us know. What do you think is the cost of love? And let us know in the comment section below. Do you think there is a cost of love? Do you think there's a cost of parenting? What do you think are things that have very high costs that we really don't talk about enough?
I was like, what's your Excel spreadsheet? It's nosy as fuck, but like, how are you, what is the budget of you life? How do you get by?
How are you guys? No, honestly.
I'm so curious how
guys, everyone tell me how much you earn right now.
You know, it's a pain. It's just like buying a fucking carton of eggs. It's like $20.
How are you guys doing it?
It's like insane.
Bitch, I was in Whole Foods like...
Yeah.
You guys are paying for groceries?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I was like, sorry, Jeff.
I don't know. It has to collapse at some point. Like, that might be what's happening now. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe by next week the economy will collapse.
Guys, I genuinely want to know, like, how are you guys affording to live? Like, I want to know right now.
Yeah.
Tell me. And we will catch you in the next episode. Bye. That was really good.